citizenship. Oh, you're back for part 2 of our Mountain Tales segments. So nice to have you along for the journey. Well, here we are, of course, in the redwoods around Felton in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Very storied silent film location from the early days. I was just thinking back on how devastating 2020 was. This is in the wake of last year's fires that people are still trying to rebuild from. 2021, while it seems like it might be getting better, there's been some close calls. And in our latest Mountain Tales segment, we're going to look at a time when Boulder Creek, parts of Felton, and elsewhere had to actually be evacuated. We thought the mountain was going to come tumbling down. So get snug as a bug in whatever rug you find yourself in.
Evacuation warnings due to the potential for debris flow, and go to community.zonehaven.com and enter your address to confirm whether you must go or should be getting ready to go. 100% chance of rain into the evening, and winds will hit, they'll be about in southern direction, 20 to 30 miles per hour, with gusts anticipated to be as high as 70 miles per hour when the storm hits its full fury sometime before Wednesday morning. So expect localized flooding and 2 to 3 inches of rain at the very least. Thank you for listening to KBCZ 90.1 FM, Boulder Creek Community Radio. This emergency broadcasting is brought to you in part by Boulder Creek Pizza and Pub, open 7 days a week and offering all-day delivery. A menu that features gourmet pizza along with salads, local beer, and wine. That sounds good. I'm going to call right now. Here's Hot Rise on KBCZ 90.1 FM, Boulder Creek Community Radio.
So I just came up here to Boulder Creek, and there's evacuations underway. People are expecting the worst, although still in good spirits. Pretty interesting to see whether this landslide ends up happening. Hopefully not. And I'm wishing the best for everyone. But you see a bit of energy as people try to exit with as many belongings as they can, and finding their way down the mountain.
I'm Shauna. I live up at the top. I'm about 3 miles south of the Big Basin Junction. I'm almost in Castle Rock State Park. Currently, most of Boulder Creek is under evacuation for debris flow, which is the natural consequence of having the CZU Lightning Complex fires. So it's raining quite hard, and this storm is going to be letting off a lot more runoff. In my zone, which is BOU 42, which is up at the top, we're currently not in an evacuation threat area, but my neighbors just to the south and many other people in that area are. So you're going to be driving straight through that area. So I just want to caution you to be careful. And be aware of your surroundings. If you hear any rumbling, just be aware. But yeah, it is kind of the natural consequence for having natural disasters. There's always a kind of a fallout. So this one's a little bit more scary because there's not really a whole lot of time to get out of the way, right? If a mudslide happens, it's gonna happen fast. You're a surfer. You know the wrath of Mother Nature. The waves are not forgiving, and neither is mud. So yeah, it is a little crazy, but it's the price you kind of have to pay. You live in a place that's as beautiful as all this. There's going to be some price to pay eventually, right? So yeah, but we love it. We all take care of each other and hunker down. So you'll see a lot of activity. This is the one gas station in town. You'll see lines because people are getting ready for the power to go out. It was out for a week last week. You know, that's just kind of part of living up here. Everyone on my street has a generator, so. The one thing that is kind of dangerous in this area, though, is there aren't really any cell towers, as you just discovered. So, once you leave town, you won't have cell service. And when the power goes out, even though you might have a generator at your home, the problem is that the internet goes out after 2 hours and doesn't come back on. Because the generators for the towers for the internet are only authorized to run for 2 hours by PG&E. I'm not really sure why there's a restriction, but it makes communicating with the outside world difficult. And we had a situation last week when we had no power where our handyman died in our driveway. It was really difficult to get a hold of, you know, EMS to come out because we were trying to find someplace where there was enough signal to, you know, call. So
your handyman, his phone died, or your handyman actually died?
no, we hadn't had internet for like 3 or 4 days at that point.
Yeah.
It was like midweek.
But it wasn't like a person dying, it was just his
no,
phone.
it was a person dying.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Sorry to hear
passed
that.
away. Yeah, and
What, it was just a freak accident, or?
we don't really know. I think he had a heart attack, but we
Yeah.
haven't heard back from the coroner, so we just
Yeah.
don't know. He was an older man, so it's possible, but I don't know. But those things are kind of scary because the communication is key, and I think that's actually one of the biggest problems we're facing as a community is how do we notify people, even using the code red thing that they set up, which has been problematic and hasn't really worked properly. How do we notify our community members if the power goes out, they don't have internet, their phones lines don't work either, even house phones won't work in that case. How do you tell them there's danger if you can't reach them? And then at that point, it's on our sheriff's office to go door to door. But even then, like sometimes you can't get to certain areas. Trees go down, they block roads.
Can I ask who this is?
I am Mohib. I am the son of Shana Mohib or Shana Fatah. I'm mostly known as Umid Fatah. And this is my first time on camera. But yeah, it's been really serious up here. I mean, the windstorm. I mean, practically, I'm kind of cooped up, and I can't really go outside anymore when it's windy. Rainy's no problem, but windy, I'm worried that I'm gonna get my skull crushed by a branch, so I'm never.
Yeah, we had
allowed to go
quite a
outside.
lot of branches come down on our property. It went through my windshield. Like it just, it is one of those things. You know, you just gotta deal with it. It's that time of year.
State has regulations that water departments have to follow, and they have to report on how much groundwater and surface water that they're using, mostly the groundwater. And so that could be an issue for San Lorenzo Valley in the future if our groundwater is not replenished with either rain or they're pumping too much out for the residents. But let's stop and you can get out and check it out.
Sure.
Wouldn't you say it's a beautiful lake?
I'd say so.
Well, you've probably seen many of these in Canada.
Yeah, but it's been a while. Well, Lake Tahoe I was by recently, but
Without the redwoods, of course. But,
although the redwoods look very similar to the Douglas fir and the,
well, yeah.
the giant red pines.
It looks a lot alike. So, those are the rental boats.
Do they have motors on them?
You can rent an electric motor and a battery, but I have my own. The battery's quite heavy too, hauling it down the road.
Tell me about the atmospheric river and how that impacted this
Talk
road.
about this guy about it.
Okay. Seems like it had a pretty big impact.
It did have a pretty big impact. Luckily, the week before, I think that big windstorm came through, and as you can see, like all the redwood branches came down that would have come down in the river. When they came down, PG&E came out beforehand and fixed all the lines. When the river came through, a rain gauge tracked 15.5 inches in 2.5 days, and as a result, we saw kind of about 29 new potholes on the road, a number of trees that have destabilized on the hillside. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Do you remember how rainy it was?
Yeah. I was inside the whole time. So I'd quit smoking at that point, so
no reason to go outside. It did rain, it never stopped raining for 3 days, so, and the road was gross. I had to leave a couple times. So definitely driving down this road was not fun.
Did you evacuate?
No.
Were you asked?
We've evacuated enough times this year. A little rain don't scare us at all.
Right. But was this in the evacuation area?
No.
It wasn't.
For the fire, it was.
For the fire, yeah.
My friend in Felton was asked to evacuate as well, believe
Yeah, it
it or
was the
not.
San Lorenzo watershed, not the Ziny Creek.
Okay.
There was no burn damage over here, so we weren't risked.
But there was road damage.
There's always road damage.
Yeah.
House up around the corner had like a huge waterfall coming down. That was pretty gnarly.
Well, the big rains we had were like 3 or 4 years ago, right? We had like 100 inches. I think.
Yeah, and the creek almost
that was
overflowed.
Wicked. Couldn't get out on Long Beach.
So what is it that you guys are doing now? How would you describe it, and what's the key to success at this task?
Not do it yourself.
Crown the hole.
You notice Michael has them working, right? See that?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's cool. All right. All right, so it's quite some time later, and a lot of days have gone by with absolutely no rain at all. Now I'm here at the San Lorenzo Valley High School. There's an evacuation point set up because another atmospheric river has inundated the West Country here. There's actually people that have been ordered to be evacuated from their homes following the fires, and then of course, there's a fear of mudslides and stuff like that. So I'm just waiting to do some reporting here, and luckily I wasn't asked to evacuate yet, but it's still early days, and I'm hoping that everyone's going to be safe. And it's just interesting to see the fallout from this kind of a disaster in this lovely mountain environment. So we're here in Boulder Creek, and the rain's coming down pretty hard. Nothing too crazy, but a solid drizzle flying sideways. It's kind of cool to see, but that way there's plenty of evacuations going on. Almost like the whole area you can see when you look on the map is just evacuation. You can see why with this river roaring along the sidewalk there. So in the background you can see the fire department hard at work mobilizing this volunteer force, trying to make sure everyone's safe.
My name is Mark Bingham. I'm the Fire Chief of Boulder Creek Fire Protection District. We cover Brookdale and Boulder Creek and about 21 square miles of fire district.
It's quite a bit of rain today. I'd say curtains of rain is a good way to describe it.
Curtains or sheets, it seems like, yep.
Yeah. So what's going on today as far as the evacuation goes?
The fire district here is geared up and ready for a potential weather event, and forecasters have told us that we're going to meet our debris flow thresholds with rainfall. And so we're just waiting to see what happens, see what the rain brings us, and see if the mountain moves. And we're operationally staffed up and ready to respond.
And let's say we get through today and tonight, is there still any risk in the coming days of debris flows, or should people be aware of certain things?
From what I've been told from the experts, and I'm not one in that field, I am about fire, but not for debris flows, geology, or weather forecasting, is that it's not a matter of accumulation and saturation. It's a matter of the rainfall threshold to be met in the hour or in the 15-minute window. So we have the 0.3 inches in 15 minutes, 0.5 inches in half an hour, 0.7 in 1 hour. Those are our thresholds that could bring us a debris flow.
And finally, just what are you hoping happens today? What is the best case scenario?
Nothing. I'm hoping nothing happens. We plan for the worst. We hope for the best. I hope tomorrow sun comes out and the rain's gone and everybody's okay.